I didn't think there'd be vampires on campus.
We must have been at about 40,000 feet when it happened.
What was that?
You are the Slayer. One girl in all the world.
Did anybody see that?
Yeah.
Guess what? I feel better.
Guys, where are we?
Hello there, Sammy.
Hello, Patrick.
Wow, what a big entrance. How you doing there, Sammy?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy 2021.
Happy 2021. Although for our listeners, it's already been 2021 for about a week and a half. But happy
That's true.
Tuesday to you, listeners.
Happy Tuesday.
Yes, welcome.
It must be Tuesday. That was a running joke on Buffy because Buffy aired on Tuesday night.
Oh.
There were times where characters would say, oh, blah, 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 something in danger, must be Tuesday.
Oh, wow. We need to co-opt some of this for our podcast promotions.
Like blah, blah, blah.
Must be
Danger,
Tuesday.
danger, must be Tuesday.
Yeah. We're Kickstream Potting, must be Tuesday.
How was your Christmas, your New Year's? We actually haven't really talked that much.
It was great. I think the one thing we should definitely talk about really quick is our murder mystery party.
Yes.
Yeah. That was a good
that
time.
That was so fun. Yeah, so you guys had one at work, which made me really jealous because I, first of all, love murder mystery parties and murder mysteries in general. Clue is my favorite board game.
You were so jealous. Yeah.
I was so jealous. I was like, invite me, bring me in. I was like just trying any way to get in there. So instead, I told Dave, I did not ask him, I told him that we were going to be hosting one of our own, and he was like, okay. And frankly, hosting virtual parties is a hell of a lot easier because there's no making food for people. We don't have to clean the house before or after.
Yeah.
It's great, you know?
Yeah.
So we did a 1920s murder mystery.
Yeah.
And it was, you won. I mean, not that we had any prizes, but if we did, you would hands down have won.
Thank you.
Best performance.
Oh, that's so nice.
VIP
Thank
as fatty belt buckle.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was a little like, okay, what's this character all about? You know? But
I was like, this is going to be so bad. Pat's going to be so pissed at me for signing him.
I've been
this
working
character.
all year to slim down.
But I knew that you would pull it off.
Thank you.
And I also was like, well, I texted you. I was like, hey, did
Hi.
you read your character?
I was like, yes.
And I headed it off. I was like, I want you to know that this is not a comment on your physique because I have told you so many times how skinny you are.
Yeah. And
I
now
don't know
my name
what percentage you believed it.
is Fatty Belt Buckle.
But nobody could have pulled that off like you could have.
Thank you. That's so nice of you. Yeah, it was a good time. Your friends were fun. It was a good time to get together during COVID on Zoom with a bunch of peeps and just become very silly.
I just felt like, you know, we've had so many holidays where we're just like totally non-traditional, not seeing people. And I just really missed like hanging out, celebrating with my friends. Not that I'm someone who always does something crazy New Year's Eve. Like I don't really, but it just felt like a good opportunity to bring some of my favorite people together and do something fun and celebratory and dress up.
Yeah,
So.
it was fun. Good times. So thank you for
Yeah.
that.
You're welcome.
What's new with you? What's going on? Anything new to report and talk about?
Today was the first day I was back at my studio.
How'd it feel?
It was pretty good. I was a little bit worried that I was I don't know, I had this fear that I was going to walk into like pipes bursting or something, like, because there was a like slight power outage, and I got a notification from my security system that like the power had gone out, but it went right back on. But I was like, what if the heat didn't kick back on? Like, what if it doesn't know it's supposed to go back on and the pipes burst?
Yeah.
So I was a little nervous about that, but everything was fine.
Good.
Nothing was stolen.
That's a
Not that it would have been. I would have gotten a notification from my security
you
system.
get a security system.
So, yeah, it was good. Other than that, what about you? You got anything new going on?
I don't think so.
Any cool gifts maybe that stand out to you that you got, over the holidays?
I got some movies, some Blu-rays, of course.
Cool.
Yeah, some
Okay.
4K Blu-rays. Very exciting. Most of which I just bought myself, and then I threw in the closet, and I was like, that's my presents, okay? So just wrap them on Christmas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how we do gifts now. It's so exciting. But other than that, it was low-key holiday, just around the house and such, but it was fun.
You didn't get any other gifts that you want to talk about?
I don't think
That
so.
were really cool from cool people that are cool?
I did get one more gift that was really fun. I got this mug
Yeah?
that says Kicking and Streaming on it. It has our logo.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, who got me that? Oh, I forget.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy?
Yeah.
Whoever got that for you also sent me one.
Oh, check that out. That's the same mug that I got. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also came with a bunch of pencils.
Yeah, and it's Bloodwell colored
It's
on the inside.
Bloodwell red on the inside, which is very
Yep.
exciting. I used it yesterday while I was editing the podcast, and it made editing the podcast much easier because it was a big old mug of coffee. And it's the right
Yeah.
size, too. The big mugs are
Yeah,
my size
gotta
mugs.
have big mugs.
Gotta have big mugs. I hate
I like
refilling.
big mugs, and I cannot lie. Yeah, and the pencils say, in case of vampire emergency, use as steak
Yeah.
at Kickstream Pod.
Such great swag.
I know. Maybe we should start selling it.
We should start selling it or just sending it to our top fans.
Yeah. that's
Top
a good
fans,
idea.
write in. You want a pencil? You write in.
Right. We'll send you a pencil. You have
Yeah.
to sharpen it yourself, though.
Right. We ain't sharpening. That's extra. That costs extra.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Cool.
So, yeah, that was that. Let's jump into Buffy, shall we?
Yeah. Let's do this. Season 2, Episode 1, When She Was Bad. The original air date is September 15th, 1997, and it was written and directed by Joss Whedon.
Cool.
Last episode, we just discussed the Season 1 finale of Buffy, so we asked you to make some Season 2 predictions.
Yep.
And so I pulled those as well as just like one other one that I thought was relevant. So one of the predictions that you had for a couple of episodes was that Snyder will be a thorn in the Slayer and Slayerette's side for the next few episodes, and then the Master will kill him in the finale.
Yeah,
but
he
he
did
didn't
not.
actually die.
No, he's still around. He's still kicking.
Yeah.
Still being Snyder.
One other prediction you had was that you thought that maybe the Anointed One would end up being the bad guy in the end, and that's who Buffy would fight, and that didn't happen either.
No, he's still around, too. He's still
Yeah.
kicking about. Smaller
Because
kicks.
he's, as we said, scampered off.
He scampered off.
He
Yeah.
was like, he led Buffy down to the sewers
Yep.
and was like, bye.
Yeah, now his hair's a little longer. It's more
he
parted.
doesn't have anyone cutting his hair for him. The
No.
Master was, he always put a bowl over his head and cut his hair.
Yeah. That's probably a deleted scene somewhere.
Yeah. So your season 2 predictions are Xander will continue to get friend zoned, but he won't give up his pursuit of Buffy, even though he should. So there's some interesting stuff there in this episode.
Sure is.
Xander and Willow won't get together until the very end of the series, maybe,
Yep.
was something you said. Now, you meant actually end of the series, right? Not season.
Yes.
Not season 2. Okay.
Yep.
Miss Calendar and Giles might or might not get together. You wouldn't give a solid yes or no, and I tried to get Kathleen onto my side to help me get you to say firm yes or no, and she was like, I'm into it. I'm okay with that prediction. So thanks, Kathleen. Angel will come in and out of Buffy's life as she continues to have boyfriends, but there will be tension between her and Angel, but they'll never really quite get it together. You said maybe Colin, the Anointed One / Mini-Me, becomes the big bad and spawns another father figure out of the Bloodwell.
Yep.
Yeah, so those were your kind of like long-term season 2 predictions.
Okay.
So we open in a cemetery at night. Xander and Willow are walking down a path next to it, quizzing each other on movie quotes.
Yeah, movie quote off.
And this to me felt like a terrible idea for them, of all people, to be walking right near a cemetery.
Yeah,
Because they both know what's out there.
Right, but they also probably have a false sense of security after the season finale when they beat the Master and they haven't seen a vamp all summer. So they're probably like, it's all cool now. We can walk through the graveyard.
Exactly, and that kind of does come up later.
Yeah. The first thing I noticed was that Xander looks different. And that's the first thing I noticed with everybody is everybody has a slightly different look in season 2. Because
oh, yeah?
I
noticed that.
A little bit of time has passed, so Xander's face looked a little slimmer to me. And maybe because he's older, maybe he's slimmed down a little bit more, maybe he's been hitting that treadmill or elliptical, you know?
So you think he's even more attractive?
I didn't say attractive, I said slimmer.
Well, I'm asking because I know you said you wanted to get some more naked Xander.
Well, no, what I said was we are probably going to get some more naked Xander. Did I say I wanted it?
I feel like you wanted it.
Okay, maybe. I will not confirm nor deny.
Okay, so Xander looks a little slimmer in the face.
Yep, despite him eating ice cream.
Right.
Yeah.
And does Willow look? I didn't think Willow looked different.
No, Willow didn't strike me as any different. But Cordelia looked different to me. Buffy, of course, because of her hair. Giles looked exactly the same. And Mini-Me looked different. And Xander looked different.
Wow, I am impressed with how much you notice that stuff.
Yeah.
I did not notice that.
I was really
but
looking at it.
But I also am used to them being different, I guess. Like, I feel like later on, they're a little bit more dramatically different. So I'm like, this doesn't feel so different to me.
Yeah.
So Xander says he is so over Buffy because he's like, what, when does school, like, we're going back to school tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. I'm excited. Or maybe he says he's not excited. I don't remember exactly what he says. Maybe
but you're pulling to me. You're pulling to me right now.
I
This
know.
is what I do in my lost recaps. I'm like, did they say this? I don't know what they said.
He says that he's restless and he's actually looking forward to school starting up again. And Willow's like teasing him like, oh, that doesn't have to do with like, a blonde girl that we know who's a vampire slayer. And he's like, no, I'm so over Buffy. But then he immediately asks Willow if Buffy mentioned when she'd be back. And Willow says that she hasn't heard from her other than a few postcards from LA, which I'm like, who sends postcards when they're like a few hours away?
In the 90s, it was a thing.
And also in high school. I don't know.
No, it was a thing before text messages and such. You sent a postcard. That's what you did. I remember sending postcards.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't feel like... it
was like something you did when you were on vacation. Like you would go to the gift shop, you'd pick out a few postcards, you'd fill them out, throw a stamp on them, and send them to like your grandparents.
Yeah, but when you're only a couple hours away...
If you went somewhere for a whole summer, it felt like an eternity. Like I remember one summer I went to Alaska and I was there for I was there for like 2.5 months. And I remember just feeling like a year. I was like, boy, I don't even remember my old life. So I would like call my friends for like 10 minutes because it would cost so much money to call, across the country. And there'd be like a delay in the signal too. And I'd be like, what's it like over there? Like it was very weird to be away from your friends for that long. So I can see a postcard.
I did like summer camp sometimes, but
that's like a week normally, isn't it? Yeah.
When you were in Alaska, was it just sun all the time?
Yep.
Because isn't that the situation, right?
Yep. During the summer, the sun like did not.
Like it doesn't set at all, or it's like 1 hour of.
It like wouldn't set. It would get very close to setting, like it'd get really dark like right before, and then it would start to get bright again, and it wouldn't get dark until like 3 a.m. and then it would start to come back up at like 4 a.m.
Wow.
So you could still see throughout.
So it's like, okay, bye guys, going to bed. Yep. What? Just kidding.
Yep, pretty much. And then I remember one night we went out fishing, and we were doing fishing on like this river, and we just fished through the whole night because we could see the whole night.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's magical.
It's pretty magical.
Well, I guess Buffy sent some postcards, and that's a normal thing, apparently.
Very normal.
Willow and Xander have a super cute moment where Xander puts ice cream on Willow's nose and then kind of like moves in to lick it off.
Nah,
and she's like,
not cute to me.
No?
No, it's kind of cringy.
Oh, why?
Yeah, I just didn't like it. Well, okay. I have a thing.
Should I finish it? And then
Yeah, why
we
don't you
can-
finish it?
Okay. So yeah, so he moves in to like lick it off of her nose, and she's like, Xander, and kind of like, cutesy yells at him. So he wipes it off with a napkin in a very romantically charged moment.
Yeah, well, they're about to make out.
They move in to kiss each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why did you feel like this scene was cringeworthy?
Well, see, I have a thing about like food on the face and like, I don't know. There's something.
So you just didn't like it because Xander was like, boop, ice cream on your face.
I don't like that. I don't like the licking it off. That weirds me out. Okay. And then.
So you would never use that move on a girl.
No, I wouldn't use that move.
And you wouldn't be okay with someone using that on you.
No, absolutely not.
If you were
I would totally break the romance or the attempted romance. If somebody were to boot me on the nose with an ice cream, I'd lose it. They'd be like, "Oh, this is going to be cute. Watch
button
this."
for you?
Yeah, I'll just be like, "What are you doing? You just put sticky ice cream on my nose?" It would be a total buzzkill.
That's why you lick it off. You gotta lick it off real good.
No, I don't like that. I think I have sensory issues.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you don't dislike it because it's Xander doing it to Willow. Like there's nothing there. It's just the idea of it altogether repulses you.
Yeah, I think it's more the ice cream that repulses me. But that being said, I think just the over the topness of how he's going about it, just I don't know. It seemed like too much for me. I didn't like it.
I liked it.
That would have worked on you.
It would have definitely worked out. Well, I guess it depends on the guy. It depends
Right.
on the guy. If I'm putting myself in Willow's shoes, like if
Right.
if it's a guy that I'm not into, then I would be very freaked out.
Right. So let's try this. If it's Borba and he boops you on the nose with an ice cream.
No.
Okay.
Well, I would probably piss myself in fear.
Oh my god.
Because who knows what he's trying to do.
No, he wouldn't put ice cream on your nose. You know what he'd put on your nose?
Pork and beans.
Pork and beans. That's right.
He'd be like, boop, pork and beans.
But he wouldn't say boop. He'd say boop. Pork and beans.
I would imagine him more like in a situation where he's forcing me to eat the pork and beans.
He'd just
And I
mush
don't
your
want to
face
eat it,
into
so
it.
he'd mush my face into it.
God, that's terrifying.
This is so terrifying. Why are we talking about this?
I don't know.
God damn it, Borba. But if I'm in Willow's situation and I've been pining over Xander for God knows how long,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd be into it.
Would you stop him before he licks it off your nose? Or would you let him?
I probably wouldn't. I'd probably let him.
Ugh. Yeah,
probably let
see?
him lick
That's
it
where
off
you and
my
I
nose.
differ. I wouldn't be able to. Even if
Yeah.
it was somebody I was into, I'd be like, no.
Oh, I'd let him lick it off my nose. Because then it's like we're very close to kissing. If he had
Right.
licked it off her nose, they would have gotten in some smoochies before the vampire appears right behind them.
Yeah, one of those classical reveal jump scares
Yep.
with a vamp face.
Yeah, so they're like very close, almost kissing, and kind of like pull away for a second as if to be like, are we doing this?
Yeah.
And there's a vamp face right
Shazam.
there. Shazam! Kablammy! So they start to run. Xander turns around and punches the vampire. Then the vampire gets the better of him. And then Buffy shows up, busts him up, and kicks him into a tree branch,
Yeah.
perfectly staking him.
First she says, hi guys, and then kick,
And then kick,
and then miss me.
miss me. And then we cut to the intro.
Yep.
Now, did you watch the intro?
I did. It differs from the
What did
first
you notice
season.
that was different about it?
I don't remember. I just remember being like, new shot, older shot maybe, new shot. They look different, and I can't tell you the particulars.
You didn't notice that David Boreanaz is now in the intro?
I guess I did. I didn't realize that it was different from the first season.
Yeah, so he was always listed as a guest star
But
in the
now
first season.
he is in because
Now
the
he's in
ratings and the audience loved Angel's involvement in the first season. So
Yes.
Joss was like, man, we got to make him like a daily thing. Like he's got to be there in every episode now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was like, people are going to think this is hokey. but they didn't. They
Nope.
loved it.
They love
So,
the
yeah.
soap opera aspect of it.
Right. So he's a regular now.
Okay.
So that makes me ask you the question.
Yep.
I think we talked about this off podcast.
Off
Generally,
pod?
we don't talk about this stuff off podcast.
It's taboo.
It's very taboo. But I feel like at one point you said that we did talk about the spinoff. And you said that you thought that it was going on concurrently.
Right.
to
And
Buffy.
I thought David Boreanaz was going to basically disappear from the Buffy show and that
Yeah.
he would only come in and out every once in a while. But now it looks like he's here to stay.
Yeah, so that was what I was going to ask you about.
Yep.
So,
That's a new prediction. That old prediction has since floundered and a new one has arrived. And
so
that
you
is
don't think that the Angel spinoff has started?
No, that won't start till 2003.
Sure. Back from the intro, Buffy hugs her friends. Then she chides them for not even carrying a cross. Xander says it's the first vamp they've seen since Buffy killed the Master. She asks if they had any fun without her, and Xander says no. At the same time, Willow says yes.
Right.
So I was like, oh.
Because Willow's
nice.
probably had a charmed, lovely summer with Xander since Buffy's gone.
Yeah.
And now that Buffy's
She's
back,
got all his attention.
his attention's going to be split again.
Yep. But she doesn't seem bitter about that.
No, I think she's semi-happy and sad at the same time because she's happy that her friend Buffy's back
Right.
and that she can protect her from vamps, as she
Yes.
just did.
Right.
But she's also sort of sad because she knows Xander's involvement in Buffy's attraction.
Yes.
In
That
the-
was
in
a
the
great way
attraction
of
to Buffy.
phrasing that. Xander says, our biggest excitement was burying the Master. And Willow's like, that's right, you missed it. Right out by that tree. And she points to a tree and we look over to it. Giles buried the bones and we poured holy water and we got to wear robes. And Xander said, very intense. You should have been. Buffy looks over at the tree where the Master was buried and she kind of has this like suspicious look on her face.
Yeah, and the music sort of feeds into it. It's like, doo-doo-doo-doo.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't remember
That's-
exactly what
yeah,
it
that
was,
sounds
but there
about
was some
right.
sort of musical cue.
Yeah, that was like, you should be paying attention to how
Right.
Buffy is feeling about this
Yeah.
situation.
There's a change in emotion in this character.
Then at the Summers residence, Buffy's dad, Hank, is unloading all of Buffy's new clothes and catching up with his ex-wife, which I was like, my parents would have never just like nicely unpack my new clothes and put them away for me. Nor would I want them to, because I have a whole system in my closet. Everything is rainbow order. They
Oh
wouldn't
my
know
God.
where to put anything.
Yeah. I had similar
So I thought that was weird.
thoughts on this scene. I was like, first of all, I mean, my parents did not even talk after they were divorced. So
Yeah.
just the thought of two divorced parents getting along is very foreign to me, although I know it's quite common. I had a lot of friends who had divorced parents who would actually be very civil with one another, and some of them would even like hug and stuff. And I was like, what's happening here? I was very confused. But also, this scene didn't really work for me because the parents, I felt like in this scene at least, were not good actors. Like they didn't have enough to do, and it was just all expository dialogue where
Yeah.
they were just sort of talking about Buffy and just telling about like her current emotional state. And I was just like, oh, there's not enough for her to do. Like Joyce is just awkwardly folding clothes and standing there with shoes in her hands, and I'm just like, oh, get me out of the scene.
Yeah, I do feel like it maybe even would have been better if they were just sitting down with coffee or something.
Yeah,
you know
they-
what I mean?
they
Like
need
that would be a
something to
little bit
do.
more normal.
Yeah.
I think that it was really nice that Hank and Joyce were getting along so well. They were having like really nice conversation about their kid, like they're checking in. So I thought it was nice that they were getting along at least and talking about their kid,
Yeah.
trying to co-parent, you know.
Yep, that's good. Parenting's important.
So at Sunnydale High, we see Cordelia complaining about how her parents took her to Tuscany rather than St. Croix. She said, art and buildings, I was totally speechless for a month and a half. No one has suffered like I have. Yeah, she's like, that kind of adversity builds character. Well, then I thought, I already have a lot of character. Is it possible to have too much character? And like, I don't know that I ever realized before this moment how much of a privileged white bitch Cordelia is. Like, talking about this, I was like, oh my God, you went to Tuscany. That sounds amazing. Like, I wish my parents could have taken me out of the country, you know?
Yeah, she's very privileged.
She's super privileged. And I was also really starting to like her at the end of season 1. So I feel like this set her back a bit for me.
Yeah, well, she's going to seesaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Snyder walks with Giles, complaining about the students and comparing them to locusts. Giles says, I do enjoy these pep talks. Have you ever considered, given your abhorrence of children, school's principal was not perhaps your true vocation? And Snyder says,
this is what I was saying when we first met Mr. Snyder. I'm like, why is he a principal? Like, this is one of the worst jobs for somebody who hates kids as much as he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously that was picked up on, and Giles is regurgitating that thought now.
Yeah.
And Snyder says somebody's got to keep an eye on them. They're just a bunch of hormonal time bombs. Every time a pretty girl walks by, every boy turns into a gibbering fool. And he's like kind of walking away from Giles. Like,
he ends
as
up by
he's
himself.
saying this.
Yeah.
He ends up by himself. And basically on cue, as Snyder keeps talking, Miss Calendar walks in and turns Giles into a gibbering fool a little bit.
Which I'm like, oh, great. I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to try to pair up Miss Calendar with Mr. Giles. She's not good enough for my Giles.
Why do you feel that way?
She hasn't earned it yet.
Why? She hasn't earned it. She helped get a demon off the internet.
That's all well and good, but you gotta slay some more vamps. Okay?
Ugh. She also helped destroy that crazy tentacle demon.
That's true. She was
and
there
she was
during that
protecting
whole
Willow,
master thing.
You know,
Yeah.
for that.
All right.
So I don't know what it's gonna. You are so protective of Giles. I don't know what it's gonna take.
It's gonna take a lot.
You wanted to pair him up with Miss French, and she was a fucking bug. She was gonna eat his head off.
But the real Miss French
Oh
is
boy,
an
that
equal
sweet
catch.
old lady.
Yeah, and they would be wonderful together. They could read their books together and knit. It'd be so nice.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love Miss Calendar because I just think she's a super powerful, strong woman, and
Yeah.
she doesn't take
time will
shit
tell.
from anybody.
I've
and
only
I
met her a
like that
couple
about her.
times in a few episodes, so I know Giles very well.
Mm-hmm.
Rupert.
Yep. So Snyder keeps venting, and Giles and Miss Calendar walk away unnoticed by Snyder, leaving him to talk to himself, which he actually says something like, you know, I feel like I'm talking to myself. And he is talking to himself, in fact.
Yep.
We follow Miss Calendar and Giles through the hallways of Sunnydale High, and she says that she did Burning Man, where there were naked mud dances, which catches Giles' attention. She says, you probably spent all summer with your nose in a book. And he says, yes, I suppose you'd consider that frightfully dull. And she goes, depends on the book.
Right.
And she gives him this smirk, which is rather like the smirk that she gave him after her corkscrew comment.
After her dangle comment.
About like where she dangles her corkscrew.
Right. So is this a sexual innuendo? Is that what you're saying?
Well, because she's like, depends on the book. That's what it felt like to me. Because
Yeah.
just the grin that, like, the face she was making at him.
Yeah.
If she was just like, oh, it depends on the book, you know, then it could be anything. But she was like, depends on the book, if you know what I mean.
There's a little double speak going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's sending some signals.
She is.
Yeah. Or is she not? Who knows?
I don't know. But that's why I like her, because she's very sure of herself.
Yeah.
Buffy, Willow, and Xander enter the scene. Willow and Xander seeming way too excited to see the school librarian. And Xander calls Giles G-Man, which
Yeah,
Giles
like,
says never to call him.
G-Man, what up?
Yeah.
Yo, G-Man. He's like, hello, and don't ever call me
Don't
that.
ever call me that. Willow tells Giles and pretty much the whole school that Buffy killed a vampire last night.
Yeah.
Which is funny because then later this happens with Cordelia, and she's the one like, Cordelia, come on.
Yeah.
Miss Calendar wonders how there could be vampires if the Hellmouth is closed, and Giles says, well, it's closed, but it's not gone. The mystical energy that emanates from it is still concentrated in this area. And Xander says, which means we're still the undead's favorite party town. Giles wonders if they're here for any particular reason, and Buffy says, You're the watcher. I just work here. Then Giles says he must consult his books, which makes Willow owe Xander money because he bet her it'd be 10 minutes before Giles had to consult his books about something. The bell rings. They head off to class. Giles tells Buffy he'd like to get her to like restart her training when she's ready. And she's like, I'm ready.
Yeah, she's very ready to train. She's like, I'm
very
ready. Let's do it. Let's do it right now. Let's do it.
Yeah. Then we get a rock and roll training montage.
Yeah, it's wicked rock music.
Yeah, it's very like Footloose.
Yeah, it's a montage.
Yeah,
it's like a jump cut montage. Buffy flipping, kicking, she's punching.
Yeah.
Music, yeah.
Doing all kinds. She's kicking ass. She's knocking Giles off his feet. And then she starts punching some kind of like wooden punching dummy thing.
Yeah, it's like a wooden training thing that I used to see in a lot of movies in the 90s. Like in the 80s and 90s. They must exist somewhere, but it's something that you can use like your elbows on and your fists and it whips around.
Yeah, it's got
right?
like padding a little bit.
Yeah.
Then she like as she's punching it, she sort of like gets this vision of the master and then she just loses it and starts like rapidly throwing punches.
Yeah, very fast.
Ignoring Giles's shouts for her to stop. And then she kicks the thing and breaks it. Giles says, well, safe to say you've stayed in shape. And Buffy, who's like hopped up on adrenaline, like breathing hard, she's like, I'm ready. Whatever they've got coming next, I'm ready. And she kind of like scrunches up her hair above her head. And she's like, you know, she's like losing her shit a little bit. This is like what crazy people do.
The change from her being like regular old Buffy in the very beginning when she kicked the vamp's face by the cemetery.
Yeah.
The change in her demeanor must have happened when they told her about the master being buried, because she went from like just regular old Buffy to being very sort of tormented emotionally for the whole rest of this episode.
Well, to be fair, the part that we see of her before she's told about the master is like 5 seconds.
Okay.
So she just
I
flies
hear
in,
you.
kills this vampire, and then they, you know, they're like kind of talking, but she's a little bit, you know, she's like, well, what was going on? But I feel like she's a little bit, I wouldn't say standoffish, but just like a little preoccupied.
Yeah. If that's the case, I would have directed it just a little differently and made her a little bit colder in the very beginning as well. Because she does seem very, like, you're almost happy to see Buffy because it's like, oh, hey,
well, they're
she's
very happy to see Buffy.
Well, they are, but she seems very the same old Buffy. Like, she came in, she seemed kind of happy-go-lucky,
yeah, she's like, oh, I did some shopping, I did this,
partied.
I did that.
Yeah. All the rest of the scenes, which she was very dark and not very nice, too.
Yeah.
But we'll get into all that.
So we cut to an old brick warehouse full of vampires with one sort of like fancy Dracula style looking vampire.
Yeah, he's dressed so nice, like
Oh, he
southern
is.
nice. He's got the vest.
Yeah.
Yeah, much nicer than the master.
Yes. He's kind of preaching as the master used to do and says, you know, we have been put down, kinsmen. We have lost our way. We have lost the night. But despair is for the living. Where they are weak, we will be strong. Where they weep, we rejoice. Where they bleed, he laughs, we drink. Within 3 days, a new hope will arise. We
Like
will
Star
put
Wars.
our faith in him. I was thinking that too.
Rubbing off on you.
Yeah, I know, a little bit. And he looks over at Colin. He will show us the way. And after that, we're at Sunnydale High. Buffy is sort of dazed in the student lounge area, which I don't think we've really seen before, but this area comes up a little bit more in like later episodes.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I was like, I've never seen this area before. What is this? Yeah.
It's definitely something that is like there a bit, but I'm like, I don't think we've actually seen this before. She doesn't immediately come out of it when Xander and Willow, you know, show up there and say hi to her. Willow asks what she was thinking about. Buffy says nothing. And Xander's like, oh, come on, you can tell us. We're your bosom friends. Friends of your bosom.
There's that passive perviness.
Passive perviness.
Rearing its ugly head.
Yep. Buffy says she had weird dreams last night. Willow begins talking about her own dream about Xander and then quickly becomes embarrassed and backpedals and is like, it wasn't even Xander. It wasn't even my dream. It was a friend's dream. And I don't even remember it. Then Giles shows up, says that there's vampire activity, but Buffy isn't worried. And Giles says, oh, I don't know. I mean, I've killed you once. It shouldn't be too difficult to do it again. And then he punches her, knocking her back onto the table. There's
He
like a
attacks
coffee
her.
table. Yeah. And he like chokes her as Willow and Xander just sit there in the chairs.
Like nothing's happening.
Completely unfazed.
And I was like, oh, dream sequence. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Giles turns into the master and Buffy wakes up from her nightmare, safe in her bed at home.
I did like this effect that they did when they peel off his face. Mm-hmm. However they did it, it was very convincing. I was like, wow, that was pretty
Well, they
good.
didn't like, it's not like she actively reached up and peeled his face back.
Oh, I thought she did.
No.
I thought he
just all of a
peels
sudden
off
is
his
the
face.
master. He's just all of a sudden the master.
I thought it peeled off.
Are you thinking of maybe the one with Billy? When
Nope.
He peels off his coach's
No, because
face?
I wrote it in my notes. I said, and peels off his face to reveal the master.
I need to go and look now. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Peels off the face.
So,
Boom.
yeah, she does peel it off like a mask.
Sure does.
And
Nailed it.
it is the master. You are so proud of yourself.
So proud of myself. So happy.
Smug. Look at this smug mug over here.
Ear to ear.
Yeah, so anyway, she wakes up from her nightmare. She's safe in her bed at home with Angel perched on her window watching her, which is, not creepy at all, dude.
I know. I was like,
I don't know how
wait,
long he was there.
Yeah, what was your game plan? You were just going to sit there and wait until
Yeah,
she
I
actually
guess.
woke up? What if she didn't wake up until like 10 a.m.? You're just going to sit there?
No, he'd just leave her a note. Or he'd go back and hide in the closet.
Oh, yeah. He's like, these are my favorite stuffed animals. I missed you guys.
He's snuggling with like a little lion.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a thing that I used to find, not that I would ever be okay waking up and finding a guy sitting on like the ledge of my window.
But it was a fantasy of yours?
No, I just feel like I don't feel like it creeped me out as much as it does now.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that was one of those like alluring vampire things that was like sexy because he's a vampire and like, ooh, he's sitting there watching me. But then I'm like, I feel like watching it this time around, I was like, this is fucking weird. Like
Yeah.
I get that you're a vampire and you like made out with Buffy a couple of times or whatever, but you can't just come into her window.
I think your levels of privacy change as you grow older because you do get more autonomy and independence as you grow older. So you get used to having your own space. Whereas when
Yeah.
you're a kid growing up, you're very used to people coming into your room and waking you up and things like that.
That's true. That's a
So,
good point.
Yeah. So I think I could see that difference between being young, being older.
If Angel had been outside like tapping on the window,
Scarier.
I guess maybe that is scarier. That's a
scarier
very
for me.
scary vampire move. But anyway, there he is sitting on her window ledge. He asks how she's doing. She says peachy. And then, so is this a social call? It's kind of late. Or, well, it is for me anyway. What is it for you? Lunch hour?
Yeah. She's very cold with Angel,
cold,
who previously was her heartthrob.
Yeah.
And they have some history together. But now she's like, no can do, mister.
Yeah, she's being very rude to him. Although,
Yeah.
again, he was in her room in the middle of the night.
Right,
So-
but that's not what she's
That's not what
calling
she's mad
out.
about.
She's just
Yeah.
mad at him in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Angel tells her it's not a social call, so he's all business as usual. Buffy says, so some of your cousins are in town for family barbecue and we're all on the menu. And Angel says, the Anointed One, he's been gathering forces somewhere in town. I'm not sure why. Buffy again, not concerned, which Angel points out and warns her not to underestimate the Anointed One just because he looks like a child. He says he has power over the rest of them. They'll do anything for him. Buffy just dismisses him, turns away to get back to bed. Angel apologizes and says he missed her, but then he leaves before she can respond.
Yeah, she gives him the cold shoulder. She just
Literally.
flips on over and she's like, I'm going to sleep now.
Yeah. And I was a little bit like, again, even though it was creepy that he was in her bedroom, I was a little bit sad for Angel.
Well, they've done some big things together. They've had some very sultry moments, too.
Very sultry, right by
Yeah.
that window, in fact.
Right. And now, like, he's like, oh, hey, my girl's back in town. I'm going to go drop in creepily and see what's up. And she's very cold to him, which,
Yeah.
given the context, makes sense. But still, you would think that Buffy would be somewhat conflicted here.
Yeah, like, oh, you're in my window? Come on in.
Yeah,
Wanna
like,
snuggle?
ooh, yeah, this is weird that you're here, and maybe I'm emotionally distraught, but I find comfort in your hotness.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You
But none of that.
Want to show me
happened.
that tattattoo?
All
that
right,
you
take
have?
it easy.
My eyes glazing over again.
Yeah. And I'm back.
And I'm back. Next day, Joyce tries to connect with Buffy on the way to school, but Buffy is a mopey zoo lion. That's what I wrote.
Mopey Zoo Lion?
Mopey zoo lion.
Okay.
Willow
accurate.
is excited to hear that Angel stopped by when Buffy tells her, and she asks if there was any kissing. And Buffy goes, Willow, grow up. Not everything is about kissing. And Xander says, yeah, some stuff's about groping. It wasn't about groping. Again, perviness.
Xander, come on, man. You can't go one episode without being a slight perv.
Just a little bit. I
Yeah.
mean, he wasn't in Buffy's window in the middle of the night, so
That's true. He hasn't upped it to that level.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet.
Buffy says, okay, hormones on parade here. It was pure shop talk. Remember vampires? Pointy teeth? They walk by night. Am I ringing a bell? And then she relays his warning to them, but again, isn't fazed by it. Instead, they all make plans to go to the Bronze that night. Cordelia comes out of class and calls them the Three Musketeers, which seems like it's supposed to be an insult, but they're like, is that an insult?
Yeah, they're like,
not
is that-
really.
No.
And, Willow's like, the Three Musketeers are cool.
Yeah.
And she asks them if they fought any demons this summer. And so this is where Willow kind of turns it around and is like, yes, our own personal demons. To try to like kind of cover for Cordy.
I actually appreciated this from Cordelia because I was like, I feel like people too often forget in Sunnydale that demon happenings and the Hellmouth stuff that happens like around the school, and Cordelia is bringing it up right away. She's like, hey, remember all this craziness? I was like,
Yeah.
oh, good. Thankfully, somebody's remembering around here something that's happened.
Yeah, otherwise you start to think that maybe Giles has one of those flashy things from Men in Black.
Men in Black flashy thing.
He just goes around like doing that.
Yeah, that's
I
the
want to say
Watchers.
flashing everyone, but that's not right.
That's not what Giles would do.
not what Giles would do.
No.
Maybe Miss Calendar,
Yeah, who knows? I wouldn't put it past her. She's a wild card.
No, I'm saying maybe he would flash Miss Calendar.
Oh, no, he wouldn't. Come on. Giles
He's a
wouldn't do
perfect
that.
gentleman.
Perfect
Maybe she would
gentleman.
like it. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Cordelia was not flashed by Giles.
No.
She talks about all the crazy stuff that happened, and they're like, Xander's like, you got to keep this on the DL kind of thing. You can't talk about this. And Buffy says, well, that works out great. You won't tell anyone I'm the Slayer, and I won't tell anyone you're a moron, and walks
Ew.
off.
Yeah, cold.
Yeah, and that garners some raised eyebrows from Xander, Willow, and Cordelia. At the Bronze that night, Willow wonders what's up with Buffy. Xander calls her paranoid and is, of course, preoccupied with waiting for Buffy to show up. Willow tries to get his attention by putting ice cream on her nose, like he did earlier in the episode.
She pre-boops her nose. She
Yeah.
does. She's like, well, let me get this going again.
This almost worked last time.
Yeah, we'll just pick up right where we left off.
I mean, not gonna lie, I'd probably try that too.
You would boop your own nose with some
I
ice
would
cream?
definitely do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I would not. Again, I don't like the stickiness. I can't deal with it.
Well, again, the idea is they lick it off and it's not sticky anymore.
Yeah, I don't like that. Don't like that action.
But Xander just looks at her and says, you got something on your nose, and goes
Right.
back to looking for Buffy.
Yeah.
It just hurts my heart. It hurts my heart so much.
But also,
Damn
pick
it,
a time
Willow.
and place. The Bronze, when you're talking about something kind of heavy, that's not the time to boop your nose with some ice cream. Now, next to a cemetery at night, very
that's-
romantic.
What's interesting, though, is the music and the background. The lyrics are, we belong together. Like, they keep saying, we belong together again and again.
Ah,
Not Pat Benatar's we belong together, or we belong, but it's a different we belong together.
different
But
one.
the
Yeah.
words are we belong together. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. Then we cut to the graveyard. Vampires are digging up the master's bones.
Yeah, I wrote Mini-Me and his mini minions.
Ooh, very nice.
Although they're not mini, they're all grown people and adults.
Mini-Me and his big minions.
Yeah.
That's
But I
like,
liked mini minions. It just worked,
yeah.
you know.
Some of them are digging with their hands, which start to burn because the ground has been consecrated with holy water. And I gotta tell you, Pat, I don't think Giles's heart was really in it when he buried the master, because that dude is nowhere near 6 feet under.
No.
They're like,
yeah. It didn't take long
oh,
to get there.
master face, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they get to his skull real fast.
Yeah. Hey, Giles, next time, throw your back into it a little bit, okay?
Yeah, come on.
Get down there. A dog
Quit
would have
flashing
dug that up.
everyone and start digging.
Yeah. Yes. Knock off the flashing. Stop canoodling with Miss Calendar and get digging, okay?
Get digging. Yeah. And then Buffy enters the bronze fashionably late and right to the beat of the music.
Oh, yeah. So this was a weird close-up of Buffy's entire body. It's like the camera starts low.
Yeah.
And it slowly
because like the music
pans
starts
up
and
her.
she like bump, like
Yeah.
puts her foot down like to the beat of the music.
Right. I was like, who's this shot for? Is this for all of 97's audience to be like, yeah?
I mean,
Let
I
me
don't know.
see
I thought
that
it was kind of cool. Not that I wanted to see her body, but I was just like, oh, cool. Like she's entering, like her feet are going to the beat of the music, I guess. And not in like a cheesy, like musical kind of way, but.
Yeah. I just felt like it was a little too extreme, the close-up.
Well, I think this episode, Buffy is being extreme.
She is being extreme.
So
but,
they're being very dramatic with all of it.
Okay, fine.
Because I feel like the ending is that too, and so I think they're just being overly dramatic about everything, intentionally so.
Okay.
So Angel approaches, and Buffy is not very nice to him. Again, and he's like, you know, he asked if he did something to make her angry, and you know, he's like, "What are you afraid of? Me? Us?" And she says, "Could you contemplate getting over yourself for a second? There's no us. Look, Angel, I'm sorry if I was supposed to spend the summer mooning over you, but I didn't. I moved on to the living."
So this is when I started to think, okay, she's had some experiences in LA over the summer, and she's sort of written off her old Sunnydale town, where, like I said, if you go away for a summer during your high school years, it feels like an eternity.
Yeah.
So a lot of change can happen over the summer. So this is where I was like, okay, so maybe mentally she's sort of being like, that was old Buffy back then when I had to slay vampires and messed with this vampire guy and we made out and burned a little cross into his chest, et cetera, et cetera. And now I'm new Buffy and I party a lot and I hang out with living people and less vampire dusting. So I think maybe mentally she's moved on a little bit, and this is where she's coming back and she's trying to figure out who she is.
Yeah, I think that could definitely be the case. My reaction to this was that she's sort of reverse Xandering to Angel, because Xander tries to get her to go to the dance with him, and he like keeps trying even though she's very nicely trying to say no to him.
Yeah.
And then it leads him to the point where he's like, I guess a guy's got to be undead to get with you, or like to get any attention from you. And so she's kind of like flipping that around and throwing it back at Angel.
Yeah.
That's what that sort of reminded me of. And I didn't like that. I didn't like it from Xander, and I don't like it from Buffy. I don't think a person's dead or undead status has to factor into the equation.
Well, she's also utilizing these two guys against each other a lot of times. She's using them
very convenient for her
own manipulation, her own emotional manipulation, and I don't appreciate it, Buffy.
I don't appreciate it either.
Yeah.
So she heads over to Willow and Xander's table, and Cordelia watches her go by, kind of like, what's this bitch's problem? It's kind of like the look on Cordelia's face.
Yeah.
She does move on with the living as she pulls Xander onto the dance floor with her, and thus ensues a very uncomfortable few minutes of Buffy doing this slow, tantalizing dance at Xander.
Long, seductive, slow, grinding dance scene.
Yeah.
In the middle of the dance floor.
Very uncomfortable to watch. You know she's just doing it to piss off literally everybody.
Right.
Including Xander. Like, he can tell that it's not really for him.
Yeah. He seems very conflicted. He's like, oh boy, this is kind of awesome, but what? This isn't for the right reasons.
His face is like, this doesn't feel right. And as that's happening, we see Angel, Willow, Cordelia, like, and again, Willow looks really hurt. And I can't take Willow being hurt. Like, it's
I
just
know.
the
Anytime I
worst for
see
me.
Willow hurt, I just think of you crying, being like, no, not
I mean,
Willow.
I basically do every time.
Yeah.
I always like start to tear up. Buffy kind of like tilts her head close enough to kiss Xander. And then she whispers, Xander, did I ever thank you for saving my life? And Xander's like, no. And then Buffy sort of like slithers like around him. And Buffy's like, don't you wish I would? And then she just breaks off, gets her purse, and leaves the bronze.
I didn't really get that.
I don't know. I mean, don't you wish I would? Like, I think she's insinuating, like, don't you wish I would do something with you to thank you for
Really?
saving my life? But she's clearly not going to do anything with him.
Right. She's just setting him up to break him down. Being
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Well,
That's just what she's doing.
right. So he starts thinking in his head, like, well, am I going to get thanked? And then she's like, nope, bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
And
She
then he's
walks
like,
out.
I got a situation here in my pants. And it's Cordelia who ends up going after her, accusing her of campaigning for Bitch of the Year, to which Buffy replies, as defending champion, you nervous?
Mm-hmm. And then I love what Cordelia says after this. She goes on a little bit of a monologue here.
Yeah, what does she say?
Well, I don't have all of it written down, but I have one line. So
Okay.
I'll tell you the one line that I wrote down, which is, you got to spank your inner moppet, whatever. I was like, what does that mean?
I got you. So yeah, Cordy kind of takes it in stride, and then she basically tells Buffy to get over it.
Yeah.
And she says, whatever's causing the Joan Collins tude, deal with it. Embrace the pain, spank your inner moppet, whatever, but get over it. Because pretty soon, you're not even going to have the loser friends you've got now.
Yeah.
And I had to look up what a moppet was.
Okay.
I was like, what
Good.
does
I'm
this
so
reference?
glad you did this, because I was like, what does that mean? Spank your inner moppet. I love it. Just phonetically, it sounds great and powerful. I don't know what it means, though.
It's basically just a term. I think it's like maybe a British or just like an old English term for like
Okay.
an endearing, sweet little child or baby.
Aw, your inner moppet.
So I think she's like saying like punish your inner child that's acting up.
Oh, interesting.
Like I think that's kind of what she's saying. But yeah, spank your inner moppet. I'm like, this does not sound like how I think she wants it to sound. It is a weird phrase, but that's Joss Whedon for you.
Well, we're going to have to work that into our normal conversation.
You spank your people are going to be
Spank
like,
your inner
excuse
moppet.
me?
That's what we should have called this podcast. Spank your inner moppet.
And the Joan Collins reference, I also kind of had to look up because I don't really know a whole lot about Joan Collins, to be honest.
Me neither.
But her name is like always tossed around, I feel like, in relation to being a bitch or having an attitude problem. So I just looked into it a little bit. And I think it's mainly, I don't know what her life was like personally, but I think it's mainly because she played a very vengeful woman on Dynasty. And fun fact about Dynasty, I am actually named after Heather Locklear's character from that show, Sammy Jo Carrington,
Yes,
who is a manipulative gold-digging bitch.
I believe you've told me that before.
Yeah, I think I have. Although she spells Sammy, Sammy.
Right.
But Joe, same, just J-O. So anyway, Buffy huffs off, angrily pulls up her hood, which is just like such a kid, like angry teen, angsty move. I feel like just like pulling up the hood of her jacket and like huffing away.
Whatever, Cordy.
Yeah, and then Cordelia calls after her, I'll just see if Angel feels like dancing. And then as she's kind of like finishing that sentence, a hand covers her mouth and she's Cordy napped.
I wrote vamp napped.
I
vamp
thought
napped.
vamp napped, but I was like, Cordy napped sounds more like kidnapped.
Yeah, that's true. You did better on that.
She's cord napped.
She's cord napped.
Then she's brought into some like dark basement area where she almost steps on Miss Calendar.
Yeah, she's just taking a rest.
Yeah. Buffy stops at the cemetery on her way home. I assume she's going home, where she sees the master has been dug up. And let me tell you, she is not digging that.
Oh, snap.
She has a vision of him beside her very quickly, but
Very
he's
quick.
not actually there. Next day at school, Willow suggests to Giles and Xander that Buffy is possessed. And Xander says, are we overlooking the idea that she may be very attracted to me? Willow and Giles both look at him and he goes, she's possessed. Xander kind of throws out the idea that maybe when the master died, it transferred something to her. And Willow says, that's what it was. I mean, why else would she be acting like such a bitch? And Giles is like, I think we're a little too old to be spelling things out. And Xander goes, Bitka?
Bitka?
Which they ignore.
Tries to work it out.
So apparently they're not too old to be spelling things out. Giles suggests the explanation of her behavior may be something more mundane. She may simply have what you Americans refer to as issues. And he says her experience with the master must have been extremely traumatic. She was, for at least a few minutes, technically dead. And as he's talking, Buffy appears in the background, but he doesn't notice. He says, I don't think she's dealt with that on a conscious level. She's convinced herself that she's invulnerable for the very reason that she feels, and then Xander finally cuts him off. He says, that's a very interesting point about Trout that you just brought up now.
Yeah, they try getting out with Trout.
Right.
Yeah.
Buffy fills them in that the master's bones are gone. She thinks that they're trying to bring the master back. Giles says that he's never heard of a revivification ritual being successful. Buffy says, but you've heard of them? Thanks for the warning.
Yeah, way to go, Giles.
Yeah, right. Way to go. You didn't fucking bury him deep enough. Now you're telling me he might be revived?
Yeah, get a backhoe next time.
Come
pal.
on.
This is the master's bones we're talking about here.
Yeah, you can't just throw them in the ground like dog
Also, why don't you
bones.
split them up?
Well, I mean, the idea of throwing like holy water down, I think was pretty smart.
Okay, but that's like one step. You
Yeah.
know, this is the master
They
we're
also
talking
wore
about.
robes, they said, and did,
Okay,
did a
wow.
ritual. But yeah, it does feel like there should have been even more effort put into it. Willow tries to defend Giles, and then Buffy says, look, this is Slayer stuff, okay? Could we just have a little bit less from the civilians, please? And then Xander is like, okay, that's enough. But before it goes any further, Snyder walks in and tells them to get back to their class and job. Kids leave, and Snyder says to Giles, there are some things I can just smell. It's like a sixth sense. And Giles says, no, that actually would be one of the 5. Snyder kind of goes on a little bit about like how, you know, he smells Buffy being a delinquent and...
Yeah, he gets all hot and bothered here for dealing out punishment. He's like, I smell expulsion and
pork and beans!
a hint of jail. Like, he gets really into it. Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah, I feel like, you know what, I feel like Snyder would be a much happier as a prison guard.
Yeah, oh yeah.
In the library that night, Giles is translating from a book in Latin how the vampires might revive the master. They need the blood of someone closest, someone connected to the master. Buffy's sure that it means her, and she says, we were close, we killed each other. It really promotes togetherness. A rock comes crashing through the window, which Buffy neatly catches, and notices that the letter wrapped around it is fastened with Cordelia's necklace. At least it looks like a necklace to me. I think
It's like a choker.
The note says, come to the bronze before it opens, or we make her a meal. And Xander says,
Oh, they're going to cook her dinner?
they're going to cook her dinner?
Yeah, I laughed pretty hard at that.
I know, I did too. I was like, oh God, Xander. And then he's like, forget I said that. So
They're going to make her a
stupid.
meal. Sounds nice.
And then Buffy says she's going it alone. She can't look after everybody else while she's also fighting. Willow asks a bit angrily, well, what about the rest of the note? You know, the part that says, P.S., this is a trap. Giles agrees that Buffy would be playing into the vampire's hands and fangs. But Buffy insists that she can do it on her own, and she fucking storms off again.
Yeah. She's a huff. She's in a huff.
Huffy
Buffy.
Buffy.
Huffy Buffy in this episode.
Huffy Buffy. Maybe
Alternate
that should
title.
be the alternate title.
Yeah. Huffy Buffy and the whatever we come up with for Lost.
Yeah. Write it down.
Write it down. Pork and beans.
Pork and beans.
How many times are we going to bring up pork and beans for the rest of this podcast, you think?
Oh, I think we're going to be saying it. I think this is going to be a joke that carries through to the end.
Pork and beans will never die on this
and
podcast.
beyond. We're going to, now instead of saying cool beans, we'll say pork and beans.
Pork and beans.
Buffy is walking in the dark. Angel shows up behind her and she gives him a hard time again, saying, I don't trust you. You're a vampire. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that an offensive term? Should I say undead American? Angel tells her that she can't do it alone, and she goads him, trying to get him to basically fight her.
She's like, beat me, Angel.
Whoa, that sounded really dark when you said it. Yowza.
Well, she said, kick my ass.
Yeah, she's like, come on, kick my ass. It's like,
Yeah.
there's some darkness that has been loosed in Buffy.
That's what I'm saying. Something happened in LA over the summer. Like, she went to some weird parties and she met some strange folk.
Strange folk.
Yeah,
More
something-
strange than the
something
master, you
changed in
think?
Buffy. Yeah, maybe.
Buffy tells him to stay out of her way, and she storms off again. Pat, if we were taking a shot every time Buffy stormed off in this
We'd
episode,
be schmammered.
we would be verschnicked
Yeah.
right now.
Fushnicked.
Fushnicked. Buffy enters the bronze, and Angel follows right behind her. So
Yeah.
you really took that insult to heart.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a woman standing, and I'm back. There's a woman sitting on the floor crying. Buffy says, that's not Cordelia. And
Yeah.
it's a vampire woman, and she turns around saying Cordelia couldn't make it, but she won't give them any more details. And then in the library, Willow and Xander are arguing about whether or not they should have gone after Buffy, while Giles realizes the translation was bad, and he said the vampires need the blood of the people who are physically nearest to the master, not like spiritually connected in a close way, but actually literally like right next to him.
Physically, yeah.
Physically, yes.
So they figure out that the trap is actually
Yes.
in the library.
So he says it is a trap, and then vampires appear in the upper level behind Xander and Willow. He says it just isn't for her. Buffy leaves Angel to vamp sit as she returns to the library. Vamp
Nicely
nap, vamp sit.
Yeah.
She returns to the library, finding it a mess. There's furniture turned over, computer broken. Xander, like, kind of is like coming to, sort of. And he's bleeding from the nose and the mouth. Willow and Giles are gone. Xander doesn't know where they were taken, but he tells Buffy, I don't know what your problem is, what your issues are, but as of now, I officially don't care. If you'd worked with us for 5 seconds, you could have stopped this. And they like have a little back and forth. And then he says, if they hurt Willow, I'll kill you.
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah. Finally, Xander's like, I've had enough of your shit, Buffy.
Yeah. I like when Xander knocks off his, like, cutesy, like,
Class
jokey
clown.
jokes.
Yeah.
And he gets down to business. And this is one where he lets it out, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know what your deal is, but if you
He's
worked
like-
with us, we could have stopped this.
Yeah. We're not fucking around. This is Willow.
Yeah.
This is my Willow. I might not want to lick, ice cream off her face right now, but
Yeah.
this is my girl.
Right. There will be another day where I
You're
want
my
to lick
girl,
the ice cream.
Willow.
Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Okay.
We cut back to the bronze. Buffy is being, so she's like, here's how we're going to figure out what it is, where they took them. So I'm like, there's some transition.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
She's like, what the fuck did she say? She's like, we need to find out where, how. And then we cut to the bronze. And she is beating up the vamp lady, trying to get more information from her. She puts her cross necklace in the vampire's mouth, which burns.
It's a good way to
Sick
get some
torture.
info. Yeah.
But also, I was like, wouldn't that make it difficult for her to talk?
Right. Her vamp tongue would be all burned up. She'd be like, and it's like, sorry, don't understand you. And she just
Sorry.
keeps burning her
She just
mouth.
keeps doing it.
Yeah.
Then we cut to the warehouse where Colin / the Anointed One / Mini-Me carries a box over to the old school Dracula looking vamp. Apparently his name is Absalom.
Oh.
They never actually say his name, but it's like in the credits.
Oh, kind of like Borba.
Borba, right. But this was actually like in the beginning credits.
Oh, interesting.
They list the actor's name and say as Absalom.
Hmm.
So Absalom is standing by a table with the master's bones laid out. Willow, Giles, Cordelia, and Miss Calendar are moved along an overhead conveyor hanging upside down and unconscious above the master's bones. Absalom begins preaching that the blood that pours from their throats will bring new life to the old one. This is where I feel like Borba would have been, he really would have shone.
Yeah, this would have been his moment.
This would have been his shining moment.
And he would have came out with a huge stew
Huge
pot
bowl of pork and beans.
and just be like, first we all eat pork and beans, and then just start slapping it down in front of everyone. Everyone gets a scoop. You get a scoop and you get a scoop, and you, Mini-Me, you get 2 scoops because we love you. And then he
And you
pats
need
his
to
little
grow.
bowl cut. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why, but as I was watching this, I was like, I'm really missing Borba.
Yeah, we need some Borba. He's going to come back.
This guy was great. He wasn't bad. I'm just like, this just would have been a good Borba moment.
Yeah, I agree. Borba would have been great in every episode.
Bring Borba back.
Yeah, we need more Borba.
And yeah, so basically he's going to slit their throats to bring the master back to life. And he is talking about this as Buffy, Angel, and Xander creep in. Xander urges Buffy to do something now because she kind of walks in and is like a little bit like kind of dazed, captivated, sort of, by looking at the master's bones / her friends. And Xander's like, we got to do something now. So she tells them to get the others out as she distracts the vampires by killing them all. And then Absalom yells and battling ensues. Absalom, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. That's the
Sounds
best I
right.
can do. Pushes Colin behind him. And of course, Colin disappears and just sort of scurries
He's
off
like,
as he does.
I'm going to go watch my cartoons. I'll
Yep.
be back when this is all done.
And Buffy keeps fighting the vampires, and Angel and Xander work to take down Willow, Giles, Cordelia, and Miss Calendar from the conveyor belt. Angel's pulled into the battle. Xander then watches like all the other vamps are dead, except for Absalom and this one that Buffy is fighting. And Xander's kind of like watching her, and he says she's working out her issues. And they're watching from like a floor above, kind of. Absalom makes it down to her carrying a sledgehammer, and he threatens to grind her into a sticky paste. And here you beg before I smash in your face. And then he and the vamp that she had been fighting rush at her at the same time. Buffy double dusts them with a torch. So she burns Absalom with the torch end of it and then stakes the other vamp at the same time with the pointy broken end.
Absalom goes up in flames.
Yeah.
And it's
He's
very
on
abrupt.
fire.
Yeah, he goes up in flames and his eyes like even puff out with flames too. It's very fast and made me chuckle.
Yeah. He was flamin'. Flamin' yawn.
She sledgies all the master's bones.
Hey, whoa.
Sorry.
Can't say that. I've got to lead up to
can't?
that.
All right.
Sledgehammer falls to the floor, and she drops the now extinguished torch, picks up the sledgehammer, and smashes the master's bones to smithereens as
Yeah.
Xander, Giles, and Willow look on.
This reminded me of when Jack busted up his father's coffin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a very similar moment. And they're both
Cathartic
like,
moment.
and Buffy starts to cry. She's getting very emotional. It's like a big emotional release for her.
Right.
And then Angel comes up behind her, and is like, it's okay. And then she turns and like lets him hold her.
Yeah, she breaks down and cries on Angel's shoulder.
Yeah.
And Xander's like, what about my shoulder?
And she's like, you're too far away. He's right here.
And also, we're just
Proximity.
friends.
And also,
And he's hotter.
my dance didn't mean anything. Sorry. You had to spank the moppet. The next day, Cordelia complains to Miss Calendar about the stains that this ordeal has left behind on her clothes. And Miss Calendar's like, yeah, that's the worst part of what happened.
Yeah.
And Buffy is confessing to Giles how nervous she is to approach her friends after how she treated them. Giles tries to reassure her by saying that this is hardly the worst mistake that she'll make. Buffy nervously walks into class where Willow and Xander are already sitting. Willow says that they saved her a seat, so she sits down and they kind of engage in small talk about their plans for the evening, smiling and letting Buffy know all is okay.
Just like old times.
Just like old times. And the scene plays out with upbeat piano music, which...
No, this scene sucks.
Well,
this
but that's
music...
my point. That's my point is it's like I felt like this was like an ironic thing where like, we had the moody, super dramatic shit the whole episode.
Oh, okay,
and
so this is
Joss
what you're
is
talking
like,
about earlier.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I was talking about earlier. Like this was not done in a serious way. This was done in, I think, an ironic nod to the sappy 80s, 90s TV shows and movies where like friends are making up and everything's okay in the end and there's, whatever. That's
I don't know if it's played for irony. I think this might have just been like, we are going to go for this emotion, which is just stock baloney schmaltzy.
I think it was totally intentional. And
I don't know about that.
Ironic intentional.
Yeah, I don't know. But the music and then their dialogue fades out and the music gets even louder and it's a long ending.
This hasn't been done before in a Buffy episode. You know what I mean? It's not, wait,
right.
Okay, hold on.
But this
Hold
is a
on.
series.
Hold
This is a
on.
series
You're
opener.
okay with them doing this like every other fucking episode in Lost, but Buffy does it once to be ironic, and you're not okay with it?
Look, Lost does it with real good
Explain
music.
yourself.
Okay, I'll explain myself. The Lost does it with the help of Michael Giacchino, one of the best composers ever. Whoever composed this thing with this muzak at the end
Yeah, it
was like the
probably
same person
stock- It was
who
stock
made
footage.
Right, no, it's the same person who composes the music for Sears.
Yes,
you're walking
but I
around
think
Sears.
that was intentional. Like he likes to be Joss Whedon likes to be hokey that way.
Yeah.
Joss,
I don't
come
know,
on,
man.
you gotta call me up. You gotta call me up. Send us an email. Let us know that I'm right and this was
Yeah.
intentional, because I know I'm right. All right, then we cut to a piece of the master's skull on the floor of the warehouse. Colin Mini-Me walks by it, looking around. Then he looks up at the destruction of his daddy yet again, and he says, "I hate that girl." And that's the end.
Wah. Okay. Fun episode.
Yeah. So I got some trivia for you.
Okay.
Anytime the master was showed here in non-flashback footage, it's actually David Boreanaz.
What?
Yep.
Like he put on the master face?
Yeah.
Oh.
Imagine how many hours of makeup that took.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
That's
Thought
fun.
that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
The title of this episode, When She Was Bad, is derived from a poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow that goes, you probably heard this poem. There was a little girl who had a little curl right in the middle of her forehead. When she was good, she was very good indeed. But when she was bad, she was horrid.
Why do you think I would have heard that?
I don't know. I just feel like people know that one. No? Never
Yeah.
heard that?
No, I'm not really reading poetry.
Okay.
But it's cute. It's a
I
cute
heard
little
it.
ditty.
Little ditty.
Yeah.
When Xander notices Buffy's new hair at the beginning of the episode, Sarah Michelle Gellar had it restyled for Scream 2.
Oh, she was in Scream too?
Yeah. Which she filmed between seasons 1 and 2 of Buffy. I forget how you pronounce the name of that band, but the one that they're all excited about seeing at the Bronze, and then they see
Yeah.
at the Bronze. They're the ones who are playing when Buffy is doing her sexy dance with Xander. They are, in fact, a real band.
Yeah, I
And-
figured that they were real bands. I feel like most of the bands that they have on there are probably real bands.
But we don't always know their names.
That's true.
Yeah, so this actually is the name of the band, too. And one of the members is Sean Lennon, the son of John Lennon and Yoko Ono.
Interesting.
He's
Very
the
cool.
bassist, and he is playing on stage at the Bronze in this episode.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was nuts.
Yeah, I don't think it's blowing me away as much as it blows you away.
I mean, I guess he's not like that big or whatever, but
No, it's not
I
that
just
famous.
thought that was kind of cool.
It would be crazier if it was actually John Lennon.
Well, that wouldn't be possible.
Well, Hellmouth.
That's true. You know, wouldn't it be nice if they spent their energy just trying to bring back John Lennon instead of the
Yeah.
master? Come on. That's what we really
Right.
need.
You know, if we could just grab Mini-Me by his ears and be like, listen to me. Okay.
Mini-Me.
We need, what this world really needs is less darkness and more Beatles.
Yes.
All right, cool. After a long-awaited episode off of Lost, we
Yeah.
are back.
I was excited to get back to Lost, especially because, like, we still don't know where the hell Claire is.
And we still don't know after this episode.
And
either.
even after this episode. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into Lost.
Okay.
So this is Lost Season 1, Episode 12, titled Whatever the Case May Be, which is a stupid title of a pun.
I actually liked it.
You liked
I
it?
thought you were going to like it too, because I'm like, oh, this is a double entendre.
No, I do like puns, but it was just so on the nose. I don't know. There's a very fine line that I enjoy my puns of, and this one was over the line. Over the line!
Over the line. I don't know that I noticed it until at least more than halfway through the episode, if not until like the very end.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I was like,
I wrote it down. I was like, oh boy, here
I
we
was
go.
like, Dave, it's a double entendre. And he was like, what?
So this episode is directed by Jack Bender, and it's written by Damon Lindelof and Jennifer Johnson. And this episode originally aired on January 5th, 2005, which today is January 5th. Look at that. Yeah, we have caught up to exactly 16 years later.
Wow, how crazy is that?
So exciting.
So
Although when
exciting.
this episode drops, it'll be like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So
I had some trouble figuring out whose backstory I thought it was going to be, but I said that I thought it was going to be Boone's because we kind of end with Locke and Boone finding the bunker on the previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that I think Claire getting kidnapped is like a Rosemary's Baby situation.
Mm-hmm.
In that she's probably giving birth to the Antichrist and these people want to worship the Antichrist.
Okay.
And I think that Ethan and whoever captured Claire are the people that Danielle was referring to when she said there were others. But I don't think that it's a native tribe. I think it's just other people who've been put on the island. I think it's a culty situation. And I think that what Boone and Locke found was a bunker that people had lived in, are living in, or had been living in at some point.
Okay.
But we don't really get any of that in this episode. Some of my other predictions from way, way long ago do come true in this episode, and I was so pumped about it, and we will get to that when we get to that.
Okay. All right, so let's get to it. So the episode starts off with great music by Michael Giacchino and a roaming camera that is sort of floating through the jungle, and eventually we land on Kate, who has scaled a large tree and is picking some sort of fruit. She gets her fruit, and she's walking through the jungle. Did you notice her bag? What it was made out of?
No, is that human hair?
No, human hair. What? No, her bag that she
did
sort of
not
fashioned
notice.
out of the belt was a belt of the airplane, like a seatbelt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was like the buckle
I guess
was
I
on her
didn't really
back
pick
or
up on
something.
that because, like, I feel like that became a fashion for a little while.
Right, it's just normal fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That did not even occur to me. But, like, I definitely feel like people had bags that had, like, the
Seatbelt buckles
things on it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. So something makes some noise behind her, and she sort of freaks out. It's some
Mm-hmm.
foliage rustling. So my first thought was they need a buddy system. They can't just go out in the
Yeah,
jungle together.
I agree.
So she throws a rock into the jungle, and she hits Sawyer. And Sawyer sort of saunters out. He's like, ow, you hit me, ow.
That's what you get.
Yeah, that's what you get. That's what happens. And he said, I was just protecting you. And she's like, from what? You stalker, you southern perverts? Is that what you're protecting me
I like
from?
that line.
Yeah, that's
what are
funny.
you protecting me from, southern perverts?
Yeah. So they walk through the jungle together and chat a little bit. And Kate hears something, and she's like, shh, do you hear that? And then they find a beautiful waterfall, like a nice little oasis area in the middle of the jungle. Immediately they start stripping down. They're like, oh boy, I got to jump in this water. They get all excited. Sawyer starts stripping first, and he eggs her on to come in with him.
Yeah, which
And-
as he was like kind of stripping down, I'm like, I feel like his arm wound would get infected or reopen. Like that shit was deep. And I
that's a
know
good
it's been a
point.
little bit of time, but like I don't feel like it's been enough time for him to just be like swimming out in water, you know?
Yeah. And especially the water, in what they find in the water, that's not
Yes.
good for a wound.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly that's what I said like later on. I was like, yeah.
Definitely not good for your wound.
Definitely not good now.
Right. So they have a good time splashing around, and they swim to the bottom of the waterfall, and they climb the rocks. They dive in, and this is when they come across two dead bodies underwater strapped into airplane seats.
Yeah. First of all, let's back up a second
Okay.
because Kate's wearing a thong
Oh, right.
and it's like very like fucking gratuitous over sexualization. And
Well,
I'm
that
like,
could just be what she's wearing. I'm sure she doesn't have extra pairs,
well,
Although she could find some granny panties in the luggage or
well,
something.
no. First of all, they show it. There's a
Is it a
lot.
thong?
There's
I don't
a
think it's
lot
a
of
thong.
It looks
It's
like
not
a
a
thong to
thong.
me. It looks.
Nah,
it's
it's
very.
like-
It's like a G-string.
It's not
It's
butt
very
cheeks. You don't see
stringy.
butt cheeks. There's not like a butt floss thing happening. I'm trying to talk women's lingerie here. It's like
Not a butt floss thing happening.
it's like
It's very
panties
sexy
but high
underwear.
cut.
Yeah, and they give a lot of attention to it. But I'm like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Kate, you're on the lam and that's what you're packing for underwear?
Maybe she likes the breathability. I don't know.
She needs the breathability to run faster.
Yeah. Yeah, so she's in some skimpier underwear. They're definitely not old trouser underwear.
Trouser.
Old trouser underwear. Yeah, they're high cut on the side. Sure. They're not boy shorts. Yeah. So then we get the lost title after we see the airplane seats underwater. After the title, they surface and Sawyer asks if Kate's okay. That was like the first thing. He's like, "Are you okay?" And then says that he's going to check them out. And she's like, "For what?" He's like, "To see what they got on him," because Sawyer's such a scavenger.
Gross.
So
but
he dives
at the same
down.
time, I'm like, I mean, whatever they have, they're not using. So
They gotta
that's
be
what you gotta
scavengers.
do. Yeah, you gotta do that.
Do what you gotta do, Sawyer.
Yeah.
So they both go down and take a look-see, and he comes up with a
And
wallet.
they're holding their breath way too long for normal people.
Really? You think so?
I think so.
I felt like it was realistic enough.
I did not feel like it was, especially because of how deep they go down.
Yeah.
Like if they were just swimming a little bit underneath the surface, like that,
Right.
I feel like it makes
But
more
they're going down
sense.
like 12
But
feet.
they're going
at
down
least.
really far.
Yeah.
I am no Olympic medal swimmer.
No?
Or no, I'm not an expert by any means, clearly, but
Right.
I know that if I was swimming down to those dead people, by the time I got to them, I'd be like, I got to go right back up and get more breath.
Yeah. You wouldn't be able to
So-
do it. Kate wants the silver case that she saw down there. It was like stuck underneath one of the
underneath
chairs
seats,
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she asks him to help her go get it. They dive back down, they get it out, and of course it's locked.
Mm-hmm.
So Sawyer asks Kate about the suitcase because he has this funny feeling that Freckles knows what's in it and that she has some sort of connection with this silver case. Kate stays silent
she also
and tells,
says it's mine.
but then she just gives it up pretty easily. She's like, "All right, fine, you take it. See if
Yeah.
I care."
But I think she's trying to reverse psychology him.
Oh, definitely. She wants that case.
Yeah.
Real bad. So on the beach, the tide has started to shift suddenly, and it's starting to wash away the beach mysteriously. All of their stuff that is on the beach, like all the rest of the luggage and the wreckage, is starting to get washed away.
Yeah,
So
so
everybody's sort of
everyone's-
scrambling.
Right.
Yeah. To get it all back. So Saeed and Jack talk about possibly moving inland. Saeed is cautioning against it since all the bad stuff happens in the jungle. He mentions what happens to Claire or what happened to Claire.
Mm-hmm.
And Jack wants him to bring him to Russo. And they
Yes.
talk about Russo and the maps and the papers / equations that Saeed said that he took from her. But Saeed says that it would be really tough to figure out because it's in French and it's pretty confusing. And he also says maybe some things shouldn't be translated. We cut to Boone and Shannon talking, and Shannon starts to question Boone about what he's been doing out in the jungle with Locke. She's like, "What are you and Locke doing out there?"
Yeah, which I'd be like, I don't know, maybe you should get off your ass and come and see.
Oh,
How about that, Shannon?
yeah. Well, she's working on her tan. She's got to keep that color going.
I've
That
got a
base
good
tan.
base.
Yeah. So he tells her that they're looking for Claire, and at least he's doing something, unlike her.
Yeah.
And she takes offense to that. You know,
Well,
it's no
I
fun to
mean,
hear that.
she's been told that so many times now that
Yeah.
like she looks sad, but it's like, bitch, get up and do something then. Like,
Do
don't just
something.
tell me you're upset about it, which she
Yes.
does. And
Some
she does,
people need an
actually.
extra little push. Yeah, she actually
needs
does.
like 20.
We cut to Kate sitting by the fire, and Sawyer walks by in slow mo with the case, and there's
Yeah,
a
this is
close-up
stupid.
shot.
Why is this in slow mo?
They do the slow mo thing right before a flashback a lot of the time, so that's what they're doing here. They cut to a close up
Yeah,
of the case.
I think it's just because there was like only part of it was in slow mo. It was very weird to me.
Yeah, it was like it's a little off putting until you realize that they're transitioning into the flashback.
Yeah, that's a good
Because the
point.
flashback could be kind of jarring if you don't slow the pace down a little bit.
All right.
Because they do the sound effect. you know.
Yeah. Okay, I'll
Okay,
let
so-
that one go.
All right, cool. Boom, we're back into a flashback where a loan officer in a bank is talking to Kate, but he calls her Miss Ryan. Mm-hmm. And then, boom, all of a sudden, a bank robbery starts happening.
Yeah, and I immediately called it.
Yep.
That she was.
You knew what was happening
I
here?
knew what was happening here. I don't know
Okay.
if you want me to reveal yet, but
Okay,
I
well-
called what happens.
So then we cut back to Kate at night, and she sneaks into Sawyer's tent, who's cuddled up with the case in between his legs.
Yeah,
He's just sleeping. The thing's just tucked in between his knees.
he's cuddling it like his little
Yeah.
teddy bear.
Right. And she's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to, just gingerly slide it out from his knees. Like, obviously, that's why it's between his knees, because he's going to wake up if you try to take his silver case here.
Yeah, I should have punched him out first.
Of course, he wakes up and says, gotcha. And he captures her in his legs, and she headbutts him.
Yes,
and she
which
tells
was a
him
lot of
to
fun.
give her the case. And they tussle a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm like, what's in the box?
what's in the case?
What's in the box?
Then we cut to Shannon. She's sunbathing on the beach, and she unties her top. And Saeed approaches and warns her about the sun being hotter than she's used to because they're closer to the equator and such. He asks her for some help in translating the French papers from Rousseau. And she's a bit suspicious. She asks if her brother put him up to this. He's like, no, he didn't. And she's like, well, not interested. She refuses, but he persists a little bit harder. Then we cut to Sawyer trying to pick the Halliburton case, as we come to find out is what it's called, because Michael and Hurley walk by and they start laughing at him trying. And Michael's like, if you can pick a Halliburton case, then I'll turn into a plane and fly you off this island right now, or something crazy like that.
Which I'm like, why? How does everybody know what this is?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is a bigger thing back then. Like, I feel like I've heard the name Halliburton. What is that?
I don't know.
Zero Halliburton, and they make special cases, luggage, attaché cases. So that's what this is. Attaché cases, and they're very expensive. They cost, if you want a brand new one, like the one that you see here, it's going to cost you around $600.
Wow, that's expensive. So you buy a Halliburton when you want to hide something or keep it locked up.
Yep.
Which is basically what Michael and Hurley are saying.
Right. They're saying there's no way to pick that.
Yeah.
But Sawyer thinks that he can. He's like, you get that runway, warmed up or something like that. He's trying to smash it open because Michael actually mentions the only way to get that open is with like brute force, like a whole bunch of velocity. Sawyer is in the jungle and he's smashing it against a rock, and there's a whole bunch of jump cuts of him trying to break it open. And then he goes to the top of a cliff and he throws it off the cliff, and it just sort of lands, of course doesn't break open. Kate scampers in and she grabs the Halliburton case.
Yes.
She sort of looks
right
up and
in. I was like,
smirks at him. Yeah.
Classic move.
And Sawyer's like, hey, don't even think about it. Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, and he runs after her. And then there's a chasing through the jungle scene, which is a Lost thing that happens all the time. Yeah.
Nice little jungle chase. And then he catches her in some tall grass and he tells her that he'll give it to her if she just tells him what it is.
Yeah, see, and here I'm like, just knee him in the balls and get away.
But he says, I just want to know what's in there just to satisfy my burning curiosity. Mm-hmm. But she stays silent. She doesn't say anything. And then he says, okay, and he walks away with the case still. Yeah. Flashback back to the bank robbery. The manager is being asked for a key with a gun in his face. And a good Samaritan attacks one of the robbers, and the gun goes loose, and it slides straight to Kate. So Kate picks it up, and she points it at the robbers, and she tries firing it, but it just sort of clicks. She says, I don't know how to use a gun. And then the
Which
robber...
I feel like would be me in this situation. Like, I'd be like, fuck!
Yeah, I don't know what to do.
Somebody else take this from me.
Yeah, here, you do it, sir. So the robber gets a hold of her and then grabs the gun from her and pulls her into a side room. This is where we find out that they're in on it together because they make out.
They really make out. So this is where I'm like, I fucking called it. So
you knew it was happening.
Yeah. So when even in her first flashback, I was like, I feel like Kate is in on this. And obviously at this part we see that, and
it's confirmed.
I had said episode 2 during Kate's first flashback when we were like, what's the deal with Kate?
What's
Why
her
is she on the lam?
Yeah.
I said that my guess was that she's going to be a femme fatale. She maybe killed a guy who probably deserved it.
You did a good job on that.
Thank you.
So we don't know the full story, though.
No.
Yet we get hints of it. So we'll see. So cut back to the beach, and Saeed and Shannon, they pore over the French math equations that he got from Rousseau. And she says, I can't do this. And she starts to doubt herself. And Saeed encourages her and asks her where she would learn French. And she says, from the sky. And they have this nice moment together.
Yeah.
And they smile at
this
each
was
other.
Saeed is so nice. Like,
He's
I
a very
know
nice guy.
that he has a pretty crazy past, but like he's clearly
Yeah.
trying to atone for it, and he's clearly a good guy.
Yeah, he's done some torturing, but he is ultimately a nice guy.
Yeah, and I feel like, I guess not everyone is just like tossing Shannon aside and discounting her, because it's really just her brother who's like, why are you so useless?
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously Saeed like wants to get something out of her. So in a way, like, it's kind of interesting because like he is being very nice, but I feel like he's also using some like manipulation techniques that he probably
Sure.
learned from torture, where he's like, I'm going to be nice to her and like disarm her a little bit to get her to like work with me.
Well, he needs somebody who can speak French or at least somewhat understand French if he's going to get anywhere on these French papers.
Right.
So he does need to employ her help.
Yeah. But
So
I mean,
he
he
is-
is being nice. So
He is being nice at the same time. I think there is a connection there. I don't think it's just straight up manipulation where he needs to, like, at least that's the feeling I'm getting right now.
yeah, I mean, there's no real reason for him to do that.
After that, cut to Jack in the caves, who talks with Sun about she's procuring some plants or something. And he's like,
Yes.
what are these for? Yeah?
I have
Do you know what
information
plant
for
it is?
you.
Okay.
So I don't know for sure without looking at the plant myself, but it seems pretty sure to me that that is Tulsi, or also known as holy basil, which is an anti-inflammatory. So I suppose it could be pretty good with helping with headaches, because that's what she
With
said
headaches.
it does.
Yeah,
'Cause
she
she's
says,
like,
oh, it's for ooh, ah,
Yeah.
ooh. Yeah. And he's like, oh, headache.
oh, headaches. Yeah. So I guess it could be good for that, but it's really best known as an adaptogen, which helps the body adapt to physical and emotional stress and aging over like long term if you take it regularly. It's also an antimicrobial, antifungal, and expectorant, so it's really good for fighting off like respiratory diseases, flus, congestions. It's definitely
Wow.
good to have like it's, this would be a good thing for like, honestly, for Jack to use for sort of like cleaning up like, light wounds and stuff like that, because it's
Yeah.
antimicrobial, microbial, and anti-inflammatory. It's also India's most revered plant, medicinally and spiritually, and is believed to be Lakshmi's, who's the Hindu goddess of prosperity, beauty, and joy, favorite herb.
Wow. Look at that.
Look at that.
Now, Jack needs to really make friends with Sun, and they need to really go into business together.
I
because,
know. That's what
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking, cuz like he has the the medical knowledge down, the like very
Clinical.
clinical. Yes, thank you. But she's out here in the jungle, and she's like, it's like eventually they're going to run out of pills. And
Yeah.
what are you going to do then? You got to work with like the plants that you
Find
have.
some plants. Yep. So Kate arrives, and she says that she has a problem. Jack's the only one who knows about her situation.
Yes.
So she tells Jack about the case, and he asks what's in it, and she's like, there's 4 9mm guns with ammo in it.
Yeah, she's like pretty specific about it.
Yeah, she knows exactly what's in it, and that it belonged to the marshal, and that Sawyer has it, and she tells him that she knows that the key was in the marshal's back pocket. But, of course, Jack buried the marshal after he died, episode 2 or 3, whatever that was.
Well, we find that did we know that then?
We never
Or-
found that out.
We find that out
in,
here.
in previous episodes. This is where we find it out. Yeah.
Okay. Because everybody else was burned.
Right. Yep, because they had that big ceremonial body burning.
Right. But
Yeah.
but he was buried, which I guess is lucky
Right.
in this case.
So Jack asks what else is in the case, and she's like, oh, just the guns. And Jack says, if you want my help, we're going to open this case together, okay? And she's like, okay, fine. She acts like she's got nothing to hide, We cut to Charlie and Rose. She tells him that nobody blames him for Claire's disappearance because Charlie, for the whole beginning of the episode, has been very despondent,
And
sitting by
quiet,
himself,
yeah.
quiet, just hating on himself, being very depressed because his love of his life, Claire, is missing, and he
Claire.
blames himself. So Charlie says, well, maybe I should have died, he says.
And I was like,
And Rose says, maybe you should ask for help. And he's like, who's going to help me? we're in a flashback again. Yeah, the robber guy calls Kate Maggie, and he backhands her and drags her into the bank.
Yeah, and I was like, I know that was for show, but
Right,
I was
but it was
like,
cold.
I was like, oh, he better fucking end up dead. She better end up killing him.
Yeah, he didn't even warn her about it too. He's like,
He
all
just
right, I'm
did
gonna do
it.
this now.
That's what I mean. Like that.
Yeah.
It's one. I don't. No, it's not good. It's not good
It's
any
not
way
good.
you slice it.
Also, you can't just take some ketchup and splash it on your face.
yeah, come
I
on.
mean,
Nobody's gonna know.
You don't need
Have
an
some ketchup
actual.
You don't even need ketchup. Go and if you're gonna do this whole thing, fucking go
Yeah.
to a Halloween store and buy some fake blood pellets.
blood pellets or one of those fake wounds that you could just like
just slap it on.
spirit gum on your face. Yeah.
Then you got to bring the spirit gum. Then you got to have the makeup to blend it in. It's a whole thing. Just get the blood.
You got to bring a
caplets.
mirror and a whole okay.
But
So-
yeah, he could have warned her, and the fact that he didn't, that's what made me be like, oh fuck.
Oh,
you,
he's a bad
dude.
guy. Yeah, he's no good.
He is no bueno.
So he holds a gun at her head and he starts counting down in front of the manager, basically asking for the key. And the manager agrees at the last second. Cut to Jack and Kate, and they're digging up the body of the marshal. This is a gross scene.
A lot of dead bodies being dug up. why
this
are there
is
so weird
a crossover.
crossovers?
Yeah, this is a weird crossover.
It's so strange how that happens.
Yeah. So they're digging up a body, and they cough and they choke at the smell. Gross. Reminds me of Goodfellas scene when they're digging up the body.
Oh, this reminds me of something different, but we'll get to it in a second.
All right. So they're all sweaty, and then finally Kate reaches in to like the back of his pants, to get the key, and then she has
she does get his wallet.
She does get his wallet,
Yeah.
and then she like drops it or something because she's like, "Oh, it's not in there."
Well,
or something.
first of all,
Yeah.
Pat,
What?
you cannot gloss over this. She opens it up,
can't?
and there's fucking maggots everywhere.
Oh, I missed that because I was
How
writing
did
notes.
you miss it? It was disgusting.
I was writing my notes.
Have you seen Lost Boys?
No, I've never seen
The
Lost
vampire
Boys.
movie with Kiefer Sutherland?
Corey Feldman.
Oh, yeah, Corey Feldman, too. Oh, there's a scene in that where, like, Chinese food turns into maggots and worms.
Ugh.
It's
Gross.
so gross. And I remember one time I had forgotten about that scene, and I was watching it while eating Chinese food.
Oh no! Did it ruin Chinese food for you?
I was like, well, I'm done eating now.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel like every time I watch it, I have to like just not have Chinese food for a little while. So that's what this
Yeah, it's
reminded
pretty
me of. And
gross.
I was like,
Yeah.
Oh, maggots.
Okay, so she opens up the wallet and there's maggots in it. Gross. And she drops it at that point.
yeah.
And she's like, no, there's no key in there or something. But sleight of hand, Kate has the key, and Jack knows immediately, and he's not happy
Yeah.
that she lied to him.
I did not put that together for some reason that she would have done that.
Oh, I put it together immediately. I mean, I know I've seen the show before,
Yeah.
so maybe that's why.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, this is sleight of hand, but maybe because I didn't see the maggots. I was like, oh, she's being dramatic about a wallet.
Yeah. No. I was like, yeah, I would have fucking dropped that too.
So he's not happy about that. So cut back to Shannon and Saeed, and they're still going over the papers. And she says it's something about the Sea of Sparkles and the blue infinity. And they start to get a little frustrated with each other. Saeed says this was a mistake. She said, oh, yeah, haven't you heard? I'm completely useless.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it starts feeding into her.
Her narrative.
Yep, her narrative. Then we cut to Jack approaching Sawyer about the case. This is like in every Lost episode where somebody has to approach Sawyer for something.
Yeah.
And then they get a bargain and talk about why they got to give it up to them. So Sawyer, of course, doesn't want to give it to him. Classic old Sawyer. And Jack says he won't give him the antibiotics for his arm boo-boo. And
so,
Sawyer...
there you go. He probably would get infected.
He would, yeah. He needs those antibiotics.
Yeah. For his
Sawyer
arm
gives
boo-boo.
it to him for his little boo-boo.
Well, he's like, yeah, I'm sure that's not true or whatever. But I was like, oh shit, Jack, you're like extorting Sawyer? Like, you're playing with the big boys now, Jackie boy.
Right? Yeah, he's got to play dirty if you want to mess around with Sawyer.
Yeah, he's not clean anymore.
Mm-mm.
That white shirt is dirty. I don't even know if he's wearing a white shirt, but I know he was for a while.
So Sawyer says to him after he gives it to him, he says, I bet you think you're doing her a favor, but whatever she told you, she lied to you, brother.
And Jack knows.
Jack knows something's up. So Jack finds Kate on the beach with the case, and he says, we're going to open this together. And then slow-mo Kate, flashback. Now we're in the bank vault, and the manager tells the robber to let the girl go. And the robber goes all crazy, and he tells the manager that it's actually the girl's plan. She, meaning Kate/Maggie, she kind of freaks out, and she asks him, what are you doing? And he says, I'm just cleaning up my mess after myself. Or what's he say? I'm just cleaning up after myself. And because it seems as though he's going to shoot the manager at this point.
Yeah.
And then she picks up a gun, and she points it at her boyfriend, Boo/robber. They have a little back and forth, and then she ends up shooting her boyfriend in the leg, and then shoots the two other robbers down as well. Because she was basically like, our rule was nobody gets hurt, and now you're going to kill this guy? Like, not on my watch, not on Maggie's watch.
Yep.
She talks to the manager about opening a safety deposit box, 815.
Which is
the
number of the flight.
Yes. Good job. So he says she needs 2 keys. You know, they need the bank manager key, but they also need the customer key. But she already has the customer key. And then she says, I'm not Maggie. And she opens the safety deposit box, and there's just a lone envelope in there.
Yeah. I felt like maybe it had something, at this moment I was like, maybe this has something to do with her dad. Because we don't know a lot about her, but she talked about,
She mentioned him once.
She mentioned him once about how, like, you know, going hiking and stuff like that was his church. So she clearly had some kind of a good relationship with him. So for whatever reason, I think because there's just so much dad stuff in this show.
There's a lot of dad talk in this show. Back on the island at night, Jack and Kate open the case together, and they find the guns amongst some cash and some other things. And they also find an envelope, like a manila envelope, that is labeled personal effects, and an envelope within that envelope which matches the one that she found in the security deposit box. So many envelopes. And he hands her the envelope, and she opens it slowly, and she pulls out a small plane toy, and Jack asks, what is it? And she is like, it's nothing. You wouldn't understand. And then he keeps pressing. He's like, tell me what it is. What is it? What is it? What is it? And then she breaks down. She starts to cry. And she says, it belongs to the man I love, to the man I killed.
Which I called.
Really starts to cry hardcore. And, Jack, look what you done now. You made Kate cry.
Yep. But also, I called that she killed a guy.
You did call
But
that.
I also said that he probably deserved it. So we have yet to find that out yet.
And then Jack saunters off. He's like, oh, nuts.
Oh, nuts.
Yeah.
Well, better go
didn't get the answers
her a
that he
banana
wanted.
or something.
Yeah, I gotta go find a plantain or something. Hey, son, you got any leaves she can nibble on or something to make her feel better?
Got anything to make her happier?
It'd be funny if he brought her back some Quaaludes or something to like calm her down. Be like, here, why don't you take this? It'll calm me down.
I was trying to give these to Claire, but
yeah. But you could use them now because you're a little emotional. Okay. She's like, stop.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to deal with emotional women.
But he's always emotional.
He's just
always
giving them
very
pills.
emotional. Right. He's like, just take this pill. Okay. So my first thought was, all that for a little toy plane? Really? Come on. But obviously there's some significance.
Yeah, there's definitely some
plane.
significance, but it also was like, what?
Yeah, it's a little much. She did a lot for that plane.
But it's interesting that it's a plane.
It is interesting. I don't know what it means, but it's interesting.
Yes.
So back on the beach, the group moves things up the beach to a new location. So this is sort of, they're moving their whole operation to a new place, still on the beach, but it's just farther up.
Yeah, it's like at the tree line, which I was, as I was looking at it, I'm like, why weren't they there before?
Yeah, that seems like a much better location.
Seems like a much better location. Like you're a little bit more sheltered, but I guess maybe they were afraid of being too close to the trees because of the whatever monster thing is in the jungle.
So at night, Charlie and Rose are hanging out by the fire, and Charlie talks about how her husband was in the tail section of the plane. And Rose again says, yes, but he'll be back. I just know that he's alive. And she said, "There's a fine line between denial and faith, and it's much better on my side." So she's very calm about this. So Charlie cries. He asks her to help him, and she says, "Baby, I'm not the one that can help you." But she holds his hand, and they pray together.
Yeah.
So
Which I guess is a nice
from that little moment, the camera cranes up, and we see the rest of the group hanging out by other fires. And we see Shannon approaches Saeed, and she sits down to him, and he seems a little like caught off guard, like, "Whoa, coming to hang out with me? Okay."
Do we see Kate again yet?
In a second here,
Okay.
yeah. She sits down with him. She starts telling him more about her time in France, and she talks about the song lyrics was in a movie that she saw. And she starts singing La Mer, Beyond the Sea. Mm-hmm. And then the whole rest of the scene...
Beyond the sea, there's
Right.
someone waiting for me. I don't even
And do you
know
know
if
what
that's the
movie
right-
she's talking about?
Yeah, Finding Nemo.
Okay, good. The scene plays out with a classic Lost montage at the end by
I'm
the
rolling
fire,
my
as you
eyes.
love.
I'm rolling my eyes, listeners.
Hey, it's not stupid Sears music, okay? It's good
that
music.
Was
La Mer.
ironic.
Okay.
That was irony.
Yeah, we'll see. So then Boone looks on from the shadows, like
Yeah,
off
which is
on
kind
the
of a
edge.
creepy.
Well, he's just kind of
moment.
like, "What? Someone's hanging out with my sister and thinks she's okay? What?
What?
I don't get it." So then Jack walks by and he looks at Kate, who's sitting with her toy plane, and she's just looking at it by the fire. And then the music takes over of La Mer, the piano version of La Mer, and we get our beautiful
Beautiful.
musical outro that Lost always likes to give us. So that's the Lost episode 12.
You got any more trivia?
Nope.
I have a piece of trivia.
Yeah, what's your trivia?
The French version of Finding Nemo did not originally end with the French version of the song La Mer.
Oh.
So when Shannon was watching it, or when Shannon was whatever with that kid who was watching it all the time, it wouldn't
She
have
wouldn't.
actually been in French.
Right, unless she was watching the English version in France.
Where the end song is in French.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't in French at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the English version of the song.
Okay. All right. So that didn't
So that's
really
that's
work
kind
out.
of a goof. But
Yeah,
but
a little
it
bit
was
of a
like
goof.
later I think changed or something. What was your favorite moment of Buffy? This was a rough episode. This
Yeah,
this was basically like, so you made a prediction after Xander was possessed by the hyena. You kind of made a prediction that like we're going to see that happen to other characters.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like, and I don't know.
This happened to Buffy. a
Yeah,
little.
I kind of feel like
Yeah.
this was Buffy's version of that. Like
Right. When she was bad.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Xander was
But she wasn't
really
even that
a
bad.
jerk.
She was just like standoffish and cold.
Well, she was.
I wouldn't call her bad.
Yeah, it's not like she was going around trying to kill people or eating
Right.
people,
Yeah.
like the hyenas did, but she was just like really mean to everyone
Yeah.
in the same way that Xander was really mean.
Right.
So-
Okay, my favorite moment of Buffy was when Xander said, "Oh, they're going to feed her dinner?" That's
That
nice.
was my favorite moment too.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that just stands out.
It was just
the
really
whole
funny
episode.
because the whole episode is really sort of like bitchy,
Yeah.
Dark, whatever,
Mopey.
emotional, mopey,
Huffy Buffy.
Huffy Buffy. But I also really like Cordelia kind of like calling Buffy out on her shit and just
Right.
being like, listen, as a reigning bitch, like, let me
Yeah.
give you some advice. You need
Go spank your moppet.
go spank your moppet. Like, you need to deal with it.
Yeah, that was a good moment.
So I liked that too. And I
Okay,
mean,
cool.
it's pretty great when she's smashing the master's bones at the end too.
Yeah.
To like work it out.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you gotta smash some things.
Sometimes you got to smash some bones.
Yeah. Favorite moment of Lost?
What's your favorite moment of Lost?
I really don't know.
This was
episode
kind of a
sort
nothing
like-
episode too. I feel like both of these episodes weren't really
Yeah, they were like meh.
doing it for me.
I did like finding out more about Kate's backstory and confirming the fact that she, that I was right about my suspicions of her. But I
Okay.
guess my favorite moment was probably when she swipes the case, when like Sawyer's like dropping the case from that like really tall kind of like distance.
Oh yeah, from the
tall
cliff.
height, cliff, and she just like swoops in and is like like takes the case.
Bad robot.
Bad robot. Like I don't know why I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah,
I thought that was fun.
That's a good moment. I guess my favorite part is just when she's climbing in the tree in the beginning. I don't know, like I don't know.
You really love the trees. Everything
love the
about
trees.
the trees.
I love the jungle. I love the music
love
and
tree.
trees. I love tree. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I guess that's my favorite part. It's pretty lackluster.
Oh wow, okay. You're
Yeah.
a tough one to figure out, Bohan. Which episode wins for you?
Buffy.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Not by a whole lot, but I just feel like The Lost is such a bland episode.
Yeah,
that
I gotta
gotta
go
go
with
Buffy.
Buffy too. Even though I
Yeah.
don't love how much of a jerk Buffy is in this episode.
Yeah.
It is.
But the Buffy story, the arc of basically them bringing back the big bad immediately, and just like this almost feels like it could have been another season finale. Like it's on the same level of like stakes of, you know, like they're gonna bring the master back. They dig him up. They got this other guy who's like a new master who's brightly dressed. He looks great.
Yeah, it looks
So-
fantastic.
Yeah, and Mini-Me's, you know, there, and Angel's there, and there's a lot going on in this episode. It's just Buffy's demeanor is kind of a buzzkill.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And obviously they had to have it be a short season because they were a mid-season replacement for another show.
Yeah.
So they didn't really have the luxury of, you know, dragging that story out. But I do think it's nice that they didn't just move on from the master and all of a sudden there was something new. Like we didn't start with a new big bad really at the beginning of this episode.
Right. They're still rekindling the old master a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, I never really put that together before, but I am glad that you brought that up.
All right.
All right.
Cool. All right.
What do you think will happen next on Buffy? Do you want to revisit your season 2 predictions?
Nope. Because they won't matter.
Okay.
I'll just come up with new ones. I think Buffy's attitude will turn around in episode 2. I think she'll be back to regular Buffy, regular scheduled Buffy hijinks, less Huffy Buffy, more old normal Buffy. Mini-Me will become stronger and continue to try to bring the master back because he finds the master's skull at the end. So he's going to use that skull to do something to bring the master back because maybe there's some old book that tells him that all you need is a skull because that has the right amount of master magic in it. Something like that. I don't know. He needs
Okay.
the skull to bring the master back, okay? That's all you need to know.
I feel like this is like that soliloquy in Hamlet.
Oh, yeah. To be a master or not to be, that is
It's
the
like,
question.
Colin, maybe this is your time to shine, buddy. Maybe
Yeah.
you don't need to bring the master back.
Yeah, why don't you just become the master?
Yeah, Colin.
That's all I got for now.
Okay.
What do you got for Lost?
For Lost, I really feel like we need a new backstory. So I feel like it's either going to be Boone or Shannon
Okay.
because we got a lot of like Shannon in this episode.
Yeah, they feel ripe for a backstory.
Yeah. And she talked about her time in France. So maybe we'll flash back to that. I don't know. But I think it's going to be either Boone or Shannon. And I don't think
Okay.
we're going to find Claire for another few episodes. Maybe
Yeah,
not.
she
until...
goes missing for long times, it seems.
Yeah, which I don't like because I love Claire. Like,
Yeah,
why
Claire's
is she
great.
gone for? Is she too expensive or something? I don't understand this. So I feel like we might not even find her until like right before the season finale or something. I'm just gonna stick by my Kate thing that like obviously we know she killed someone. It was
Yep.
clearly the man she loved,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna stick by the fact that I think he deserved it.
Okay.
Yeah. What else are you reading, watching, and listening to?
Oh, we just started watching that BBC series, Sherlock.
Oh, the one with Cumberbun?
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch. and
Smaug.
the Hobbit there. What's his name? Smaug. Yeah, that's right. They were both in the Hobbit Desolation of Smaug.
Yeah, he was Smaug.
Yeah, so we started rewatching that, and it's fantastic. If you haven't seen it before, you should check it out.
You started rewatching it? You had watched it before?
So we watched it, I think we watched the first 2 seasons or something when they first came out, which was like 2010, 2011 maybe. So it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And we did not remember a bit of it.
And the
so we
show's
started
not still
rewatching
on,
it.
right?
No, I think it ended, but they did like 5 seasons. But their seasons are weird. Like every episode's like the length of a movie.
Yeah, I remember
And-
that. I think
yeah.
maybe that's part of why I never got into it.
Right. But they only have like 3 or 4 episodes a season. So it's very
so it's
manageable.
It's like a mini series every.
Yeah, it's like a mini series,
Yeah.
like
Like
movies,
the 10th
you know?
Kingdom.
Sure. I haven't seen that.
It's great. I don't think you would like it. I think Amy would love it, but I don't think you
Yeah.
would.
I don't know. Can't predict this one.
Nah, I don't think you'd like it.
Okay, fine.
It's fairy tale stuff.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't like it. What about you? What have you seen?
Well, I'm still working my way through Gilmore Girls. This is like my 3rd probably rewatch. I just throw it on as like background kind of.
Yeah.
Or if I like want to watch something while I'm eating lunch and Dave's not home. But we also started watching Schitt's Creek, which has been recommended to us so many times. We had watched the first episode a while ago and just both were like, nah.
Yeah. So we just watched the pilot episode this past week as well.
Because Kathleen recommended it.
Oh, is that why?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I think my wife had kept like wanting to check it out, and then she finally just floated by me one night, and I was like, sure, let's put it on.
That's so funny. Now you and I could talk about Schitt's Creek too.
But we only saw the pilot. It didn't really grab us though.
So we felt the same exact way.
Yeah.
Try watching the 2nd episode.
Okay.
Just give it a shot. I mean, they're only 20 something minutes.
I found the characters and the actors interesting. I think it was the setting of just like the motel and just like the town. I was like, this doesn't seem like there's enough here.
Yeah.
For me to keep my attention.
Yeah, and
But-
there isn't really, but
There's
it is,
not,
but it is the
but it's good.
personalities. Like
Yeah.
that's what does it. And I think when I first started watching it, I was like, they're too much for me. Like the personalities are just too much. So
Right.
yeah, then we watched the 2nd episode and we were just cracking up and we both looked at each other and we were like, why didn't we like this before? Like this is phenomenal.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give it another shot.
yeah.
We'll continue on.
Yeah, see what
and
you
I'll
think.
report back.
Again,
Yeah.
it's only 20 something minutes. They're short episodes.
Yeah.
And I've been watching Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Oh, what a great show.
Yeah, because you referenced it in episode 11.
Yeah.
And
when you were singing.
yes, that I
Yeah.
was very Whose Line Is It Anyway? And I was like, I watched that a lot too when I was
Oh,
younger.
it's such a good show.
It's so enjoyable. That's a great thing
Yeah.
to watch when you just need a good pick-me-up.
Yeah, I agree.
So-
I should check that out.
Yeah, and that's it. I'm not really reading or listening to anything else.
Yeah, me neither.
So
Okay, cool.
cool.
Awesome. Well, this was fun.
Yeah.
As always, a great time. Happy to be back and watching both shows again.
I am too. And I can't wait. I can't wait. There's some exciting stuff happening and I can't wait. And I'm like, my voice keeps going up.
It
And
sure is.
Dave and I were talking about it and I was like, something is going to happen. And I looked
Okay.
up.
All
when-
right. Don't get too excited.
And I was excited.
Don't leaky bucket. All right. So listen and subscribe to us as always on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, all the places.
All the
Don't
places.
forget to rate us if you can and you have time and you love us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And also share with your friends. Get your Buffy and Lost friends or, just friends who haven't seen this show yet. You should recommend them.
Yeah, I actually have a friend who had occasionally watched episodes here and there. And
Yeah.
she is now watching them, was sending me snippets and was like, this totally reminded me of you. And I was like, yay. And she's listening to
Nice.
the podcast now too.
Yeah, so everybody should listen, and we should have more kickers and streamers.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
And send us your
Yeah.
thoughts too,
Please do.
So speaking of which, you can send us emails, but try not to send any spoilers. Or if you are, if you're Sammy, this is Buffy stuff and I want to talk to you about it, just make sure you put like Buffy spoiler in the headline, subject line, and same for Law spoiler so we can direct the email appropriately. Send your emails to kickstreampod@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at kickstreampod. And check out show notes for this and every episode at kickingstreaming.com.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching with us, for listening. And remember, Pat and everybody else, streaming is
better
always
better
with
friends. Streaming is always better with friends.
Steaming is better with friends.
Well, steaming is, but also streaming is better with friends. Always.
One day we'll get this right.
One day we will seamlessly outro. But that's not today. Steamlessly outro. Okay. Bye.
Bye.